The world watched in disbelief as former Cosby Show star Malcolm-Jamal Warner was laid to rest, but no one expected what Jaleel White did next. His tribute didn't just shake the room, it left everyone speechless. Why was Jaleel in tears? What did he whisper at the casket? And what secret did he finally reveal that stunned even the family? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see their bond forever. The sudden death of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, best known as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, has left fans devastated, friends in shock, and the entertainment world reeling with unanswered questions. From his incredible rise to stardom to the silence that followed after the show ended, Malcolm's life held far more secrets than many ever knew. But it was his funeral, not his fame, that finally unveiled the truth about the relationships he kept most private, including a deep, emotional connection with none other than Jaleel White, the actor who rose to fame as Steve Urkel. In this video, we're breaking down everything that happened at Malcolm-Jamal Warner's funeral, from the heartbreaking moments with his family to Jaleel White's jaw-dropping tribute that left the audience visibly shaken. We'll reveal the never-before-heard stories about Malcolm's final days, the cryptic message he left behind, and how it all ties back to some of the biggest names from the Cosby Show era, some of whom are now under scrutiny for what they said or didn't say. You won't believe which cast members showed up and who stayed away. You won't believe what was said behind the scenes, and most importantly, you won't believe the legacy Malcolm left behind that's only just now coming to light. Grab your tissues and buckle up. This story is filled with truth, tragedy, and a stunning twist you'll never forget. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was always known for his calm, collected presence, whether it was his intelligent charm on The Cosby Show or his later work in jazz and spoken word poetry. But behind the spotlight, there was a quiet storm brewing. Those close to him had noticed he had become more reclusive over the last year. Fewer public appearances, cryptic social media posts, and an overwhelming silence about his personal life that had even his closest friends concerned. According to a close family source, Malcolm had been battling undisclosed health issues for months, possibly even longer. Though his representatives never confirmed a specific illness, whispers about fatigue, rapid weight loss, and even emotional burnout began surfacing in private conversations among cast members and industry insiders. He had reportedly canceled several planned appearances earlier this year, citing personal health matters, but no one expected that July 2025 would be the last anyone would see of him alive. And when the shocking news broke of his sudden passing, reportedly from a drowning-related incident, although many questions still remain, fans, friends, and fellow celebrities were stunned into silence. Social media exploded. Hashtags like #RIP, Malcolm Warner, #Theo Forever, and #Cosby Star Gone Too Soon trended worldwide within minutes. But even more shocking was how unprepared everyone seemed. There was no prior statement, no slow goodbye, no explanation. It was as if Malcolm simply vanished into the quiet, just like the man he had become in his final days. "We had no idea he was going through something so serious," one of his longtime friends anonymously stated. Malcolm didn't want anyone's pity. He didn't believe in drama. But maybe, just maybe, he should have said something. But here's where it gets even more heartbreaking. Those who knew him best say Malcolm had been preparing for death in his own way. He had updated his will just 2 weeks before his passing. He had written what many believe to be his farewell poem, which was found saved in a draft email with no recipient. And one friend, received a voicemail from Malcolm just 3 days before his death. That person was Jaleel White. And what Jaleel did with that message? That's what left the funeral crowd absolutely speechless. But we'll get to that in just a minute. Because what happened at the funeral, from the guest list to the tributes, turned this quiet goodbye into one of the most emotional moments in Hollywood history. The funeral for Malcolm-Jamal Warner was held in Los Angeles at the historic Forest Lawn Memorial Park, the same place where legends like Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston were laid to rest. It was a private ceremony, but the guest list, or lack thereof, co-stars, friends, and musicians quietly gathered under the California sun to pay their respects to a man who had grown up in the public eye but had died in virtual silence. But as the black cars pulled up and guests stepped out, one thing quickly became clear: not everyone came. And for some, their absence said more than their words ever could. Let's talk about who did attend. Felicia Rashad, who played Claire Huxtable, Malcolm's on-screen mother, was among the first to arrive. She walked in holding a single white rose, her eyes red behind dark sunglasses. "He was like a son to me," she reportedly whispered to the press waiting outside, "and I will never forgive myself for not seeing the pain he was carrying." Keisha Knight Pulliam, Tempest Bledsoe, and even Raven Simonet were all spotted entering quietly, heads bowed. Every one of them had shared screen time, laughter, and years of close-knit family-like bonds with Malcolm during the height of The Cosby Show's fame. Some reports say that they sat together in one pew, tightly huddled, comforting each other throughout the service. But the absence of Bill Cosby raised eyebrows. Though he and Malcolm had a complicated relationship, one shaped by years of distance, scandal, and silence, many expected Cosby to at least issue a statement. He didn't. Not a word. No message. No representative. Nothing. And for many fans watching from afar, that silence felt like a betrayal. Even more surprisingly, Lisa Bonet, who played Denise Huxtable, didn't attend either. Sources close to her claim she was devastated and emotionally unprepared to face the crowd. Some insiders speculate there may have been unresolved tensions between Lisa and Malcolm in recent years, possibly over personal or creative differences. But the truth? We may never know. And yet, despite the complex web of relationships and the mix of Hollywood glamour and grief, there was one person whose entrance changed the entire atmosphere: Jaleel White. He arrived late, dressed in a simple, fitted black suit with no entourage, no fanfare. His face was pale, his hands trembling, and in his grip, a folded piece of paper, the same paper he would later read from in a tribute that turned the quiet room into a flood of tears. That's when the entire service shifted, a guest later shared. It went from respectful sadness to deep, guttural grief. You could feel it in the air, like he was about to say something Malcolm never told anyone. Before we reveal the exact words from Jaleel White's gut-wrenching eulogy, we need to talk about something just as shocking. A private voicemail message Malcolm left him days before his death. A message Jaleel has since described as one of the most chilling and beautiful things he's ever heard. As the service reached its emotional peak, the quiet hum of soft organ music faded into silence. The room stilled, and when Jaleel White rose from his seat, clutching that now creased piece of paper, the tension became almost unbearable. Jaleel, known to many as Steve Urkel from Family Matters, wasn't just a fellow child star. He was one of the few people who truly understood Malcolm-Jamal Warner's life behind the cameras. Both had grown up in the spotlight. Both had endured the pressure of becoming household names before puberty. And both had struggled to stay relevant and emotionally stable long after the audience moved on. They shared a private bond not built on publicity, but on pain. And for the first time, that bond was made public. "Malcolm wasn't just a brother to me," Jaleel began, his voice already cracking. "He was the one person I could call when the world didn't make sense. And he always answered." At this point, Jaleel paused. Tears welled up in his eyes. His hands shook as he unfolded the paper again. Then he looked down, took a breath, and continued reading the letter he had written for his fallen friend. "The last time we spoke, you told me you were tired, but not in the way people get tired from work or stress. You were soul tired. You said, 'Jay, I've been holding it all in for years. The fame, the silence, the stuff I can't say out loud. It's heavy, man. I didn't know that was goodbye. I didn't know that was your last gift to me.' Honesty." The audience was weeping. Soft sobs echoed throughout the chapel. Even Felicia Rashad reportedly covered her mouth, trying to contain her emotion. But Jaleel wasn't done. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. "I want to share something," he said, because I believe he wanted people to hear it. With trembling fingers, he hit play. And then, the room heard Malcolm-Jamal Warner's voice. A raw, emotional voicemail. One that has never been played publicly before, and may never be again. His voice was raspy, but unmistakable. Hey, if you're
gentle,
hearing this,
tired.
it means I didn't chicken out. Don't be mad at me. I need rest. Real rest. I've carried it all too long. Tell him I love him, even the ones I couldn't call back. And tell him not to be sad. I found peace, finally. I hope you find it too, bro. The chapel fell into complete silence. There was no sound, no movement, just the echo of Malcolm's final words hovering in the air like a ghost refusing to leave. Jaleel turned away for a moment, covering his face. And then, as if guided by some force beyond himself, he whispered, "You are more than Theo. You are more than a sitcom star. You are my friend, and I will spend the rest of my life telling the world how deeply you mattered." He placed the paper on top of Malcolm's casket and walked back to his seat. No applause, no fanfare, just sobs and silence. The funeral had ended. Most guests began to quietly disperse, some lingering outside the chapel in small, grief-filled circles. The sun was starting to set over Forest Lawn, casting long shadows across the grass as family members were escorted to waiting black cars. But then, something happened that very few people saw, and even fewer are willing to talk about. As Jaleel White stepped outside the chapel doors, a woman approached him. She wasn't on the official guest list. She wasn't dressed like most of the Hollywood elite attending the service, but there was something about her demeanor, calm, confident, yet visibly emotional, that made everyone within earshot turn and watch. Some later identified her as a woman who had once dated Malcolm briefly in the early 2000s. Others insist she was something more, someone who had recently re-entered Malcolm's life just months before his passing. But whoever she was, she walked right up to Jaleel, looked him straight in the eyes, and said one sentence that changed everything. "He didn't tell you everything, Jaleel. There's more, and you need to know it." Witnesses say Jaleel froze. He stepped slightly back, clearly stunned by her tone. His initial response was soft, "I'm sorry. Who are you?" But she didn't answer directly. Instead, she handed him a sealed envelope, leaned in, and whispered something no cameras could catch. Then, just as quickly as she arrived, she turned around and disappeared into the crowd. Jaleel stood there for a moment, frozen, almost visibly shaken. He looked down at the envelope, then to his left, where paparazzi had begun gathering. Instead of opening it then and there, he quickly tucked it into his coat pocket, nodded at the security detail, and walked briskly toward his car. "He looked like he had just seen a ghost," said one guest who witnessed the moment. "Whatever that woman said, it broke him all over again." Since that day, rumors have swirled about the contents of that mysterious envelope. Some claim it contained a handwritten letter from Malcolm, addressed only to Jaleel, one that explained the deeper struggles he had been facing behind closed doors. Others believe it was evidence of a medical diagnosis Malcolm kept private, or even financial or legal documents he wanted Jaleel to handle on his behalf. And then, there are those who think the envelope held an even bigger secret, one connected to Malcolm's family, and possibly someone he left behind. To this day, Jaleel White has made no public statement about that moment, no press conference, no interview, not a word about the woman or the letter. And for many, that silence has only deepened the mystery around Malcolm's final months. But perhaps the most shocking part came days later, when someone from the Cosby Show cast finally spoke out about a years-long fallout with Malcolm, suggesting that he had been keeping dark emotional burdens from even those closest to him. What did this cast member say? And why are fans now questioning what really happened behind the scenes of one of America's most beloved shows? The tragedy of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's passing has reignited public curiosity and concern over the once seemingly unshakable unity of the Cosby Show cast. For years, they had been America's favorite fictional family, a symbol of excellence, unity, and Black achievement in television. But behind the scenes, relationships had begun to fracture, especially in the years following the show's finale and the eventual public downfall of its creator, Bill Cosby. Sources close to the cast revealed that Malcolm had become increasingly isolated from his former co-stars, though he maintained a polite relationship with several, including Felicia Rashad and Tempest Bledsoe. He had stopped speaking to others entirely. And when the legal scandals surrounding Bill Cosby became public, Malcolm was one of the few former cast members who withdrew completely from the media, offering no statements, no interviews, and no public opinion. Privately, however, crew member claimed that Malcolm had felt betrayed by how certain cast members handled the fallout. He felt like they were defending someone who couldn't be defended, the source shared. He was tired of protecting the image of something that was no longer real. And then there were whispers of disputes over money, royalties, and legacy. Some insiders claimed that Malcolm had pushed for a reunion or reboot centered around his own character, hoping to reclaim his creative legacy. But others in the cast weren't on board. Whether due to disagreements, pride, or fear of public backlash, the project never materialized, and the bitterness lingered. 1 week after the funeral, a clip from an old podcast episode resurfaced, where Malcolm had hinted at feeling trapped by his early fame. "People think I owe them the kid I used to be," he said in the interview, "but that kid grew up, and most people didn't like who I became." Those words hit differently now. The silence from certain cast members following his death has only amplified fans' suspicions. Why didn't Lisa Bonet attend? Why hasn't Bill Cosby said a word? And what was in the envelope that Jaleel White received from the mystery woman? We may never know all the answers. Some secrets die with those who carry them. But what we do know is that Malcolm-Jamal Warner was far more than just Theo Huxtable. He was a gifted artist, a thoughtful soul, and a man navigating the shadow of a massive cultural legacy. And thanks to Jaleel White's stunning tribute, and that voicemail echoing in all our minds, Malcolm's final message was heard loud and clear. He wanted peace. He deserved peace. And now, he finally has it. So, what do you think was really going on behind the scenes of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's final years? What could have been in that letter? And why are so many key people remaining silent? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts and theories. If this story touched you, please hit the like button, subscribe for more breaking stories and tributes to icons we've lost too soon, and share this video with someone who remembers The Cosby Show and the unforgettable role Malcolm played in shaping our culture. And don't forget, we have more videos exploring the lives, legacies, and mysteries of your favorite stars, so hit that notification bell to never miss another upload. Thank you for watching. Rest in power. Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Breaks heart.